Hello everyone and welcome back to another video of Vivek Learns. In the last video we were solving this any base multiplication problem where I got a bit confused trying to multiply the binary 4 with 4, and what I was doing was I was adding them and I was expecting the answer as 8, but 4 times 4 is 16, which is the correct answer that we have here. So whatever the logic that we had in the last problem on the last video that we had discussed, it is 100% correct. So let's move to the next video that we have. Next question, not my bad. So in this next section, we are introduced to the concept of arrays. So why do we need arrays? So arrays are needed to represent elements of the same data type, like a large set of elements of the same data types. Like this is what is mentioned here. And how do we declare an array? So we can declare an array using something like this int marks, and we can initialize it or we can allocate it memory using this new int 5. So what happens as soon as we have this line at the runtime, what happens is 5 integer spaces are allocated with some memory locations, right? And one, like this is of type int, and the int is of size 4. So let's say if this is something what like 5000, so the next location will be 5004, and the next will be 5008, and then so on, right? So if you see, this is what they try to explain here, and this array dot length, like this marks is the name of the variable of the array. This gives us the size of the array, the length of the array, and we can access it using an index. So the index starts from 0 till length minus 1. Okay, so this was all what is explained in this section. Let's move to the next section where we are introduced to memory management. So we have two types of memories, basically stack and heap. So whenever we have something like int I is equals to 1, both the variable and the value they are stored in the stack, right? But if we have something like an array, so array is a non-primitive. Int I is equals to 7 is a primitive, right? So the non-primitive types, they get space in the heap, and the variables that we have along with the memory location, they are allocated in the stack area. So like I mentioned in the last video, we have 4000, and as it is an int array, we have 4004, 8, 12, 16, so on. So how will the array try to access the element, or how will it try to put the elements in this array? So let's say if we have something like a of 3 is 40, then what it does is it knows that it knows the 0th position is 4000. Then what it does is it takes that 4000 and it adds 4 into 3, because 4 is the size of the integer times 3. So it will add the element to the 4012 address, right? So this is how we the array elements are inserted, or they are retrieved in the same way. So it doesn't have, like, we don't have to traverse the whole thing just to put this here. It gets calculated automatically. So that is how the elements are accessed, and we can also put the elements in an array or add the elements in an array. Add is the appropriate word. So you can go through these articles and we'll try to solve some questions about arrays in this video. So let's try to move on with the first question, which is span of an array. You are given a number n representing the count of elements. You are given n numbers. You are required to find span of input. Span is defined as the difference of the maximum value and the minimum value. Okay, so let's try to solve this problem. Let me create a new package for arrays. Create a class span of array. Let me have some input statements copied. Here we have enter length of the array. Then we capture that the length variable. Okay, and what we can do is that we can take inputs. So the index starts from 0, right? I less than length. Then let us initialize an array first. Int array. Let me have it of size length. Okay, so why is it okay? My bad. So what do we do is we allocate the memory like this. We have another. Okay, enter length of an array. Once we enter length, enter elements of the array. Let's see this. So this will capture the elements of the array. And now what we have to do is we have to iterate over that array. We have to find the min and the max. So what we can do here is we can assume that the min is the first element or the max is the first element, right? So let's say min a of 0, and similarly we can have another hypothesis like this is ARR, right? Max is also the 0th element, and what we can do is we can iterate over that array and we can check if the element that we have, let's say we have the element a of I, is it less than min a of I, close this here, ARR, right? Is it less than min, or uh, if it is less than min, then we allocate that to min. Similarly, we can have the logic for max as well. We need max here, right? So we will get the min and the max values from here. Once we get those values, we can find the span of the array. So this will give us, iterating over the array will give us, or we can use the property that we have, right? arr.length. So this array.length will give us the length of the array, which is similar to the length variable that we have. But just to showcase that property, we have used this. So we can have the output as span of the array is max minus min. We have those in a bracket, right? So let us try to run it with the input variables that we have here, 6 and then all these elements, right? 40 and 4. Okay, we should enter 6 elements with 40 and 4. Okay, 6 elements with 40, 4, 34, let's say. Span is 36 because 40 minus 4 is 36, right? So that was all about this question. Let's try to solve the next one. So once we have solved this one, we need to find elements of an array in an array. You are given a number n representing size of an array. You are given n different numbers representing elements of an array. You are given another number d. You are required to check if d exists in array A and at what index. If index, if found, print index, otherwise print -1. So this is similar. Find element in array. Let's say this, the input strategy is similar here. So we will have, we'll take the inputs first and then what do we do? Yeah, so this is us taking the length of the array and then taking the inputs of the array. And then what do we do is we take the input that we want, the element, enter element you want to search. So this will give us the element that we want to search. Let's take that as an input. Let's say element, and then we iterate over the array and we check if the input is same. So we iterate over the array and we check if arr of I is equals to length, is equals to not length, element, my bad. And if we have found that, then we print it, and then we can return. Where do we print it? Let's print it at the end. Okay, so let's have an boolean element which is false first. Element found is false, then we found, element found will become true here, and then what do we have? we return index, which is -1, or we can have the index directly, right? Then we can set the index is equals to I. Then what we can do is and print the index. Okay, so if we don't get the index, okay, this will give us the first entry only, because whenever we are finding that element, we'll return directly. If we want the last entry, we can remove this. We can have multiple entries of that element, right? Okay, so let's try to run this. Let me close others. We run this. Let's say I have three elements, 1, 8, 79, 79, and I want to search for 8. Oops, something went wrong. The program has terminated, but the print statement did not execute. That's strange. We are iterating from 0 to array length. Okay, then we return. So return will return from here, from the for loop, and it should print here. Let me run it again. 4 elements this time. We search for 8. Strange, it's not printing the index. Okay, not sure what's happening. Let's try this. We get the elements in an array. We get the element that we search in this element, and then we iterate over that array. So this is us iterating over that array. This should work. Let me add some more statements here. 4 and then 8, 7. We want to search for 5. This is returning from directly from the method. Not sure why. Okay, let me run it again for 4. 41. Element found at 41. Oh, it's not the return statement, it's the break statement, right? So the break will break the for loop. That's how we'll get the first element, right? Not the return. Return returns from this method call. So my bad about that. Then 78, and then if we want 77, it returns -1. Okay, so that was all about this question. Let's try to solve the next one, which is bar chart. You are given a number n representing size of an array. You are given n numbers representing array elements of an array, you are required to print bar chart representing value of array. So let's say we have this array here. Okay, let me have this copied here. Let's try to understand the question first. So what what is the expected output is the first or the zeroth element should have 3 stars, 1, 2 and 3. Then we can have the first element print 1 star. Then we can have 0 stars. So 0 will be represented by kind of space here. Then we want 7 stars. 7. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and the last one. Me have this 7. Then we will have 5 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4 and then 5. So this is the expected output, right? Let me check. Yeah. So how do we get this output? Like this is similar to the pattern one with a lot of twist. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to find the greatest element first, like the element which is biggest, the largest. And then what we can do is that we can fill spaces or underscore. So let's fill underscores here first. Okay. So we'll find the greatest element first and then we'll check the array element. If the array element, okay, like this underscore can have things like this or hyphen or hyphen and one more hyphen. We can have something like this for the first time, right? So for the first element, we have 3. So we will start the iteration like we will print it like in the horizontal fashion itself. But what we will do is we will have start the iteration from the 0th element. So we'll check the 0th element. The 0th element is 3. 0th element is 3 and is 3 greater than 7, let's say, because 7 is the largest element, right? But is not. Then we print star or hyphen. Then we check 1. Is 1 greater than 7? No. Then we print hyphen. Similarly, is 0 greater than 7? No. Is 7 greater than or equal to? My bad. We have to check greater than or equal to. 7 greater than or equal to 7? Yes. So we print star. Otherwise, for the similar 5, we print hyphen. Then we decrease by 1. So for the next iteration, we check for 6. So is 6 less than or equal to 7? So we'll have to check for less than or equal to. Let's say less than equal to less than equal to the we'll have to check if 3 is greater. We'll have to check for greater than or equal to, right? Equal to, we'll have to check if the element, like this element in the array, is it greater than or equal to the some value, say val, and this value it will be the greatest value first. And as the iteration progresses, we will decrease this value. Okay, so that is how we'll approach this problem. Let's try to solve this bar chart. Take the input, enter elements of the array, we get the elements of the array. We try to find the largest elements of the array. Let's say int max. Let's say it is a of 0 first. ARR of 0. Then what we do is if ARR of I is greater than max, then what do we do is we have the max is equals to ARR of I. Right. Yep. So this is how we'll get the max element. Then we iterate over that array. So we'll have another for loop which iterates from index I is equals to 0 to ARR of ARR dot length. And then we have another variable called max. And then we can have something like max minus minus. So for the first iteration, we'll check if ARR of I is greater than or equal to max. Then if it is, then we print star. Else, let's for now print hyphen. It's for now, for understanding purpose. Okay, and we decrease the max. So let us try to run this. See, I have 5 and then 4. See, let's say 2, then 3, then 0, and then again let's say 2. Oops, we should have something like this, right? We should have a pattern like this. And after every iteration, we should have a system.out.println. My bad. Let's take the element as 4. It is still printing in a similar fashion. Okay, not sure. So the max is not sure if it picked the latest code. We iterate from 0. So AR of 0 is nothing but 1. 5 is the greatest. So what gets printed is hyphen. And then, okay, so we'll have to have a double for loop, right? This won't work. We'll have to have another for loop. So what we can do is that we can iterate for the first for loop from 0 to max, and we can have max minus minus, And then let's have other for loop, because we cannot solve it with one for loop. We can have this statement here. If ARR of J, let's say, is greater than equals to max S out star, then we can have hyphen printed for now. So what this will do is it will iterate horizontally. It will print star or hyphen. Okay. Then for the next iteration, what we can do is we can have max minus minus, but we need to have some temp max here. Okay. So what we can do is can have some temporary variable. So we can have that temp max. Yep, I, not I. We'll have, we'll have to, so this, what it does is this will give us the columns, right? So the inner for loop, it gives us the rows. The outer one, it will give us the columns, right? Yeah. Inner for loop, this one, it gives us the rows like this, and the outer one gives us the columns. So we want max number of columns, right? Okay, so hopefully this works now. Let's try to run it. It does go into an infinite loop. So we'll not sure if this condition is satisfied. How will we stop the for loop, right? So how will we stop it? That's a question. That's a good question that we have. So I think we need to reverse the logic that we have. So we need to iterate over the array first to have this logic here. So what this does is it gives us the columns, right? And then we can check here if ARR of I, in the second one we can check if we can have a similar loop here. Okay, so this will go from 0 to array length minus 1, and then this will give us the rows that we have. So with this, okay, so what we do is we go from int j is equals to 0 to j. Yep. And then we check if ARR of I is ARR of j, sorry, is greater than temp max. Okay, if ARR of j is equals to is greater than or equal to temp max, then we print stars, otherwise we print hyphen. Right, so hopefully this works now. Say 3. It does go into an infinite loop because we don't have any condition to solve to stop this, but it did work this time at least. So when do we stop? For I less than temp max. Oh, we are not incrementing I, that's the problem that we have. That's what I was wondering, where are we going wrong? So let us run this. Oops. It does it it does print for every condition. So how many? 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have got 5. So let me first have the basics right. So let's say we have an end for loop. So what this will do is that it will print 3. Let's say it will print 3 rows. It will print 3 stars, right? And now again we have another for loop. What does this do? It prints, let's say J, right? So what this does is it prints the rows, okay? And this outer for loop, it prints the columns. Let's say I have 5 here. So 5 columns will be printed. So this prints the columns, not the rows. So that's where it is confusing me. Let's say I enter 5 and so this inner for loop, it prints rows, it prints the columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so considering this as a reference, let's try to run our. So we'll have the inner one as the array, right? And we'll check here if ARR of j is greater than or equals to max. If yes, then we print star, otherwise we print, right? And then what we do is this is for the columns and this is for the rows, right? So we want a max number of rows, right? So let's try to run this. Don't have this. Then we is greater than or equal to max, and yep, we'll have system.out.print here as well as here. Then what we can do, we have to increment the temp count as well, right? We can have something like max minus 0, max minus I, right? So for the first, it will have max minus 0, then max minus 1. Yeah, we can try it. Let's try to run it. 4. Yep, it has printed it successfully now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me try to rerun it. Let's try to have the spaces removed now. And okay, we can have the simple way. Say for 4 elements. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so that was all for this video. In the next video, we will continue solving some of the more problems. So we have solved this bar chart problem. We'll continue to solve some more problems of this functions and arrays module. So see you guys in the next one. Thank you.